My name is Carola, and I'm e-biking around Europe for 1 year with the goal of meeting as many Christians from as many different backgrounds as possible. After more than 7 months, I had made it to England, and in my last video you watched my most exhausting week on the way to get there, and honestly the struggle did not end there. But in this coming week I had a very special destination, a small house hidden in these hills, which was the home of a Christian community, St.Oswalds. This visit would be an experience that would truly change my perspective on what Christian hospitality really means. But in order to get there, I had to pack my bike again and get on the road. And it didn't take long for me to find my first obstacle. In order to cross this river, I was supposed to take a lift down to a tunnel, which as you can see was out of order. Unfortunately, there was no realistic way for me to get down to the tunnel, so I had to make a detour. I eventually found this ferry that would take me to the other side of the river, and I have to say, this was actually much nicer than taking a tunnel. After an exhausting but very scenic bike trip, I made it to Julia's house, who is a friend of a friend and part of the Christian community, but doesn't live on site, so she showed me her beautiful neighborhood. There are 5 people in the community who live on site, and 9 non-residential people like Julia who are part of the community but live close by in their own houses. We are on our way to St.Oswalds, which is a Christian community, and I can't wait to see it. It looked like there was a storm brewing, so it felt quite adventurous to get there, but when we did, it was so worth it. This is St. Oswald's. It used to be home to nuns who lived here and hosted Christian retreats. When they were unable to continue, they let the community take over. They even have their own vegetable garden, and my favorite stop of the day, chickens. They come together 3 times a day to pray in this chapel, where their guests and the people of the community pray a Celtic prayer. This is a back and forth of communal reading of prayer in a specific pattern. It creates a beautiful atmosphere where guests from Christian retreats and the people of the community come together to pray. After the morning prayer, I got to sit down with the community to learn more about them.
We try and live that life of hospitality where people are invited into the life with us. The other promises we make are to do with that, so we say that we will practice hospitality with generosity, simplicity, authenticity, humility and courage. And it's a tricky way of living, but it's a good way of living.
Their love for hospitality was very evident in this house. Everything was created with so much love for detail. I could really see how this would be the perfect place to come for a retreat. And I was in luck because there was a Christian art retreat happening that day, led by the amazing Sarah Sharp, who invited me to join them. They were creating little books and also showed me their other artworks, so I couldn't wait to join. I might not be the best painter, but at this point I had been biking for so many months and never really took the time to reflect on all the experiences I've had. So this really gave me an opportunity to explore new ideas of how not only to connect with myself, but also with God, which I really want to keep incorporating in my prayer life. Afterwards, we had a lovely meal, and I was so impressed by how highly the guests spoke of the community and their experience there. And that should have been the end of my time here, but God had a different plan. The storm had become so dangerous that I decided to stay another night and come back the next day to help as much as I could. I wore many different hats that day, and I'm really grateful I stayed longer because I got to see how much work the people of the community put into this place. I was so impressed to see their love for each other and the guests while tackling each of the tasks. Which is why it breaks my heart to tell you that the nuns who owned the house sold the property of St. Oswalds. This meant that the community had to close down, but if my visit with Julia and the community have taught me one thing, it's that being hospitable is not bound by a place or a group, as amazing as it was. Especially one story that Jackie told me from their time before they joined makes me hopeful that every one of them is still spreading that gift of hospitality even after St. Oswald's was closed.
We always lived in our own home when the children were younger, but we had those sort of open doors. We would have a board where we would write up, you'd just sort of write up how many people were going to be there for supper that night. We had a lot of homeless people because we lived in the East End of London. We had a lot of homeless people turn up on our doorstep asking for food and money and all sorts of things. But there was this one old man called Robin, and whenever he came, Anna, our youngest, would come to me and she'd say, "Can I take Robin's sandwiches out to him?" And she would have her own little plate. And we would leave all the doors open so we could see what was going on, but she would sit next to him on the front doorstep and they would talk, and she's grown into a compassionate, kind woman.
Meeting these people really changed my perspective on what keeping an open heart and place for people can look like. The memories I made there have impacted me deeply, which I am so grateful for, and I'm sure the love they put into this work will live on in every person that had the privilege of experiencing the beautiful St. Oswald's. If you want to follow the rest of my journey, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and as always, it's such an encouragement when you leave comments, either for me or for the people of St. Oswald's.